one of our first assignments is we have people do meal plans. With the conversation that you have, you already know the subject matter. And so it's a familiar conversation with low pressure because there's no business outcome.
Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, where we navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between. Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Cruise Control Podcast, and today I'm going to be here with a friend of mine, Nicole Donnelly, who I've actually known for probably over a decade. I was thinking this morning I had a friend of mine, Corey Caruth, on last week, who I also met in 2014. So evidently 2014 was like I was on some sort of business dating app or something, meeting all new people. So Nicole helped me with Detailer's Helper in the really early days on getting things going. And so we've known each other for a long time, and she has done several. It's funny because our careers have and our businesses have kind of transitioned over time. And it's funny how they continue to be aligned. So I'm super excited for you to be here. Before I start, go to detailersroadmap.com. We build kick-ass websites and do SEO. So go to Details Roadmap and do the little demo button. We can walk you through your existing site, your SEO and all that, and we can help you to get more business and more qualified leads. And we're going to talk today about artificial intelligence, AI, and how to use websites, email, all of these things, but do it much more efficiently. So before we get started, I'm going to give a little background for Nicole. With 18 years of experience as an entrepreneur and using AI since 2015, holy cow, Nicole knows how to leverage AI to supercharge your teams and your business. She has strong background in crafting a powerful vision and executing it. As a former professional snowboarder, CEO, and mom, Nicole seeks out people who inspire and challenge her to improve in every area of her life. She's the author of 3 books, including Rash to Riches, How I Grew Baby Legs from a Home Business to a Global Brand. Baby Legs is you could talk more about what that is, so that'll make sense in context. The Social Media Playbook and the Happy Camper Guidebook to a Happier Life. I'm fairly certain on my computer I have a draft version of that book, by the way, that you had sent me in PDF. So that I sometimes I'll go through some of my folders and I'm like, hey, there's Nicole's book. That's cool. So Nicole has won several business awards, including Seattle's 40 Under 40, Small Business Excellence and International Trade, and many other business awards. Dude, thank you so much for being here. I was so excited for this. One of the, a lot of times on this podcast, we talk to business owners and detailing intent and space, but I've tried to include business owners outside of our space that can speak into just general business stuff, general life stuff. And so you are the perfect guest for that. So I'm super excited to have you. So, hey, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And that's fun that you still have the PDF. That's pretty valuable.
I know. I sell it on eBay. I should have gotten your signature on it.
I'll send you an electronic signature.
There you go. I'll drop that in on the cover. So, hey, one of the big things we do on the podcast is we just want that superhero backstory. Like, that's your LinkedIn bio and on your website and all that kind of stuff. But you're so much more interesting than that. And I want to set the kind of your growth context so people can say, really be inspired more than anything. Because a lot of the people that are listening to this are entrepreneurs and they're like, well, I've done this, but I kind of want to do this. And so, like, I try to make people unafraid to take risks. And so your story, I think, is a great example of that, honestly. And it's fun that you and I have, been able to watch each other kind of do that very thing. So give me that backstory. I'd love to hear it.
Well, I want to give a little context to that early days. Like, I was born in the desert in California, in the middle of nowhere. I lived on a dirt road in a mobile home.
Yay, trailer trash. That's me.
Yeah. I mean, really, like, I didn't grow up in an environment that would nurture or that was expected to do what I've done, and I'm kind of the only one in my family that has had these sort of aspirations or, done the crazy business things. And I also, like, as professional snowboarder, I didn't go to school for technology. I studied history, German, and photography. um, and the reason that I wanted to share that part of it is that anybody can learn this stuff. it's so easy once you get the basic concepts to use AI, especially now more than ever. And um, like I used to sell wire in elementary school, like telephone wire to make bracelets. I sold helmets when I was snowboarding. I had them in my car and in my locker all the time. Um, and baby legs or leg warmers for babies. I cut off my snowboard socks. I cut off the feet, pulled them up over Sarah's knees once my little baby was crawling because they would have diaper rash really bad. And so I needed to monitor the situation and Sarah could have some airtime. And that within 3 years, we were in 85 countries. And so I've always been open to whatever opportunities there are and just looking for the impact that I could make. And with baby legs, I knew every parent's life would be better if they knew about it. And I was out there to make parents' lives better every day. And that was my mission. And my whole life mission is to bring joy to 1 billion people. And so I brought joy with baby legs. I brought joy. So I've had a marketing agency and I only work with companies that I really like and, doing the coaching, things like that, that are going to benefit others. And I got really into learning about, well, I wouldn't even say like I was into AI. I just stumbled upon it because it made our lives easier. It automated and helped us. It was an early marketing tool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we just kind of stumbled. Somebody introduced me to this tool. I loved it. And then I've just always kept my eyes open for what other things we could use to make our systems, processes more efficient. And I would say in the last year, we're 10 times more efficient than we were. AI has moved so fast. And in 2023, it was a fire hose. I don't think I've ever learned so much so fast in my life. Ever.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then being able to digest it all, sort it, and see who it's good for, because that's what I'm good at, is matching the right tools to the tasks and people. And so you could ask me, what should I use for this? And I might ask you a couple more questions and give you the answer, because I'm good at that matchmaking and making introductions for people too, like to other humans. But in this case, I mean, there's been more than 12,000 AI tools that have come out in the last 2 years.
I had
And
no
more
idea.
than 10,000 came out in 2023. And well, like kind of end of 2022. Once ChatGPT, so we had been using OpenAI before ChatGPT was there. And ChatGPT, the thing that it gave us was this little text box. Just like texting a friend, you can text ChatGPT and get answers. I didn't need a programmer to talk to AI anymore for me.
Yeah.
And we had a programmer who he would also use Donnelly, which is the image generation tool. And we were playing with these tools probably a couple of years before that text box popped up, and once we got that text box, it was magic.
That's like old school terminal entry when you're trying to do back end programming, right? Like that's that's what I did early in my career. And so it's like, that's definitely an improvement.
It is. It is. It is a huge difference between using the old computers where you had to know what you were asking for.
Yeah.
And you have the little text box, but now you have AI that's being even more intuitive where you don't really even have to ask it that much. So you can, depending on what you want to do, you may need a 4-page prompt, or you might just need 1 sentence to get your answer. And so I guess that's how I got from there to here. And I also I've had more than 20 concussions. I'm really interested, like you, in physical fitness and all brain health. And so I also have a parallel track, and I've been involved with a company that's been using AI for human health.
Wow. We need to talk more about that.
Yeah, for the last 4 years. And I have kind of a pet project that is just something that I'm working on right now for women. And it's women who are perimenopausal, menopausal, and matching up, being able to recommend solutions for them.
Gee,
That
I might know one of those. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
she like lives in my house. And it's funny that you say that because we've spent like the last 6 to 9 months really digging into perimenopause and all of
Hmm.
that, and from a health and fitness standpoint. And
Yeah.
we'll have to do a whole nother episode on that sometime for the other podcast. But that's super cool.
Yeah, and so some of the people I follow are Stacy Sims, Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Stacy Sims, and Mary Claire, and I wanted something for myself and started building it for myself, and then sharing it a bit, but it still needs some more work, and I want to partner with somebody like Dr. Stacy Sims and Mary Claire, and offer something to the public in this category.
I love
Um,
that.
but I've been in that space also on a kind of parallel path for 4 years now
Wow.
of with another company that I've been advising. And there's actually a couple of companies. One is brain health and one is like women's health.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get to get the insight from the different doctors and different things that we try out, which is kind of fun.
That's super cool. Yeah, if you're listening to this podcast, and I know probably just by the industry, a predominantly number of people that dominating percentage is men, but we do have quite a few
Yeah.
women on there. But men that are in their, if you're in your 20s, you can probably ignore what I'm saying until you get, but listen all up. If you're in your 30s, one of the things that, and this is completely off topic from AI, but start doing investigation if you're married or have a female in your life. Start looking at what perimenopause is and how long it lasts and some of the implications of stuff. We're learning that we discovered over time that things that were going on 10 years ago with Michelle are actually part of this process. So she was early 40s, like 40, 41, when she started getting more injuries and all of these different things that have to do with hormonal health and optimization and exercise. She's always been an exerciser, but I had a boxer, but she began to get injuries much more readily. So there's estrogen component, testosterone component, progesterone component. So I would just encourage everyone that's listening to take this and go just start learning about this issue, because it happens to every woman. Like it's inevitable, right? So
it does, and it starts early. I started having symptoms at 35.
Yeah, which makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I was in my 40s, I went to a doctor. She's like, "Well, you're probably about halfway through." I was like, "What?" I don't want another like 10 years of this BS, you know? Um, and then my husband, he listened to a podcast that had some information. He's like, "I wish I would have known this years ago, like known it in my 20s, because, just understanding women's cycles and being around them," which I'm sure a lot of your listeners are around women if they are not with.
Yeah. Yeah.
understanding understanding what a month looks like to be around a woman and when your opportunities are, it can be very clear.
I joke and say that during certain days of the month, I'm at least 42% more attractive than at other parts of the month. So yeah, I mean, it's super important. Like it's crazy to talk about this on a business type podcast, but like we talk about life, right? Like this is just, and honestly, if you get some of that figured out, especially if like if you're married and working with because there are a lot of guys that work with their spouse, there are a lot of female business owners on this. And so like this all factors into everything that we do. So I think that's awesome. I did want to say one thing about this whole, you are the exception in your family from coming from your background. But I was reading something the other day, or I think it was probably Dan Martell talking about this, but when you look by and large at successful entrepreneurs, they almost always have that same background.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's a very, like, there are very few success, especially, maybe business owners, CEOs and stuff that took that business path.
Yeah.
But from an entrepreneurial standpoint, because you actually learn how to be an entrepreneur from the early days of just, like in my case, I grew up, I mean, like super poor, literal trailer trash. Like mom was gone for, days at a time when I was like 6 and 7. Like that taught me how to be an entrepreneur because I had to figure out how to just live life, right? And so
Yeah.
for anybody that's listening, take heart that you are in that small group if you've gone through that. And I mean, dude, if you're born to money, definitely that makes it a hell of a lot easier. Like Alex Hermosi loves to talk about how he was sleeping on the gym floor and all that kind of stuff, but in reality, he actually comes from quite a bit of money with his family. He went to like one of the most expensive high schools in Southern California and all this stuff. And I'm not dissing Alex at all or his story of struggle, because he definitely did that. But like you can go down both paths. So,
yeah. I mean, I lived in my car for a few years when I was snowboarding because women didn't really make money doing snowboarding. And so it was paying for entry fees or rent. And I chose entry fees,
yeah.
Hey,
if you got the right car, it's perfectly fine.
I had a Honda Civic DX 2-door coupe.
Yeah, that's, luckily you're not that tall. So that probably,
I know.
that probably helped. Well, first of all, I was excited that you showed up in person, because I was kind of expecting maybe you would just send your AI avatar to do this podcast.
I could.
I know. We started doing some sales stuff with my Max Out Man brand, and we were like, you can actually do initial sales calls that are done with AI, and it's like you're talking to a real person.
Yeah.
I did some of the demos and stuff, and it's not perfect, but like it's scary good. Right.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you could have a 5-minute conversation or 10-minute conversation and not realize that you're actually talking to a computer. You would have no idea.
That's something I show in my demos when I go speak. I showed those phone calls, so people can hear. They're so realistic.
Yeah.
And the people on the other end don't know they're talking to AI. And you can have it trained on your voice or have it be other people's voices. And now with Hey Jen, you can do a video avatar. They did this with Santa Claus over Christmas, and they do this for some of their sales Zooms. You can show up. The avatar can show up for 20 minutes on a sales Zoom right now, and so you can train your avatar on your voice, your likeness, your movements, all of these things, and then you can also train it on your knowledge or the knowledge that you want it to have in that context.
That's crazy. Well, I mean, even like Riverside, which is the program we're using, the website we're using right now to record this podcast, it has hundreds of hours of my voice. Mm-hmm. And so it actually has an AI feature that all I had to do was hit a button, and it uses all that data and all that voice. And I can then type, if I didn't want to record an intro or a commercial or whatever I do on this podcast, I just type in what I want it to say. And it sounded almost exactly like me. Even that, like when I paused before I said like me, it does those pauses, and I mean, it's insane. So like, tell me, like, give me the very high level, like, that's kind of like AI is super capable of all of this stuff, which I'd love to know more of that, because I think it's super interesting. But if we're talking about like the basics, how do you get started? How do we, like, what kind of things? And your company is basically a company that helps other companies figure out how to use AI to make them more efficient, which essentially raises their profit and all of those things. Right. So I'd love to hear more about, like, because we're talking to small business owners, a lot of single operators. And what we talked about before we started recording was, a lot of these, like, we have CRMs, like a company like Relatable, who are friends of mine. They have an app that does texts and all that. So there's a little AI built into that. But I'm sure that there is a way to use AI to then, like, exponentially increase the effectiveness of some of that stuff. So if just kind of, let's do 101 first, and then we can do 201 and 301 if you want.
Okay. I would say first place to start, and this is so that we all have conversations with AI to some degree, like people are trying it out. And when you're texting the predictive text, that's AI doing it. One of our first assignments is we have people do meal plans.
I literally did that yesterday. And I'll explain how I did it just because people know that I'm in health and fitness. So we're starting. We always do different. About every 12 weeks, we change our nutrition and all that. So I have new macros, which are calories, protein, carbs, and fat, right? And we've got a really busy week, so I didn't want to do a ton of food prep. So I literally said, "Hey, here's my macros. These are the food choices that you have. Take my food choices. Make sure I have and like I had it do 2 snacks and 3, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it kicked it out. Gave me a shopping list, gave me the recipes, gave me the prep list, and it took maybe 3 prompts to get it all going. But talk about meal planning in
Well, yeah, the reason that I do it is because when you're doing a meal plan, you know what you want. I don't like green peppers.
right.
And so I was actually doing some of this last night, this morning, I don't know, doing another meal plan for while I'm here visiting my sister.
Yep.
And so then with the conversation that you have, you already know the subject matter. And so it's a familiar conversation with low pressure because there's no business outcome. And you can tell it. So for me, I might say this week, like no red meat, gluten-free, dairy-free. And these are the 3 types of carbs that I would have. These are my macros.
And when you tell
And
it
then,
gluten-free, meat-free, it says, "I'm sorry, I can't help you. You should go eat something else."
no, it'll
That's
do.
what mine would tell. Mine would be like, "Who are you? I don't understand what you're saying." So anyway,
And they would be like, "Are you sure?
Yeah, that's right.
We need to verify your identity again. Can we send you a text message?"
Yeah.
But if you see something you don't like, you know it, so you can identify what's not correct in that plan. So I might say no dairy, and it puts something dairy in there. I'm going to know that that's not correct information because AI will hallucinate and give you incorrect information.
Yes.
So if you start with something that is, there's low risk. There's no risk in doing a meal plan with AI. It's just a process of having a conversation. And then I even included supplements, and I had it make a plan for my day of when I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat, and what supplements I'll take and when. And like having tea at this certain time or whatever, and I have my certain eating times that I have. And so I can just start by having a simple request, and then I can make my request more complex. And we call that iterative prompting. So you iterate and just ask it more things. And then shopping list. So I will ask it to do a shopping list by department, which a lot of times it will automatically do now. At first it didn't. And then I might say, "Oh, I'm going to get everything except my supplements. So can you make a separate list of my supplements? Because I'm going to get that at a different store." So then I can just copy and paste that to my notes. But that's one of the first exercises we do, because you can verify that the information is correct really easily in a meal plan. That it's the food that you like, that it's the times that you want to eat, and you kind of know your macros. But you actually, if you're doing it to macros, you don't know 100% that what it's telling you is accurate.
Correct. Yeah.
And because you have so much experience with macros, I do too, like 26 years of it or whatever,
You're right.
Like I can kind of know, and I could say, "Oh yeah, that looks about right." Because I know what, this much meat, 3 ounces of meat is, um, and you still have to verify. Like I would say trust, and you need to verify the information that is in an output. So that's one of the first things we do. And then we start to get into creating a voice. So there's a couple of components. There's a couple ways to do this. But we want the output. So with a meal plan, you don't care if it sounds like AI. But if I'm going to craft an email, I want it to sound like me. I don't want it to sound like AI. And if you are with ChatGPT right now, you can quickly ask ChatGPT to write a Dear John letter in the brand voice of Taco Bell.
That's funny.
Any AI tool, you could do Taco Bell, Skittles, Dove. I think we did Hungry Jack. We do this in class, and you will get the funniest Dear John letters, and they're going to be on brand, and they won't sound like AI, because there is so much brand voice information that it's been trained on, because those brands have been around forever. So if you get the Skittles ones and Taco Bell ones are usually the most funny. because they're so like, because their brands are kind of funny and
Mm-hmm.
cheeky anyways. Um, and you want your voice to be as robust as a brand voice that AI has decades of information on. And so you can take transcripts, like you could strip out my voice, just have your voice in this conversation. And when I say voice, I mean a written definition of how you want to sound verbally. I don't necessarily mean voice as in the verbal audio,
Mm-hmm.
the audio voice. We're talking about what people would usually call brand voice, but it's really important, especially small companies. We write it as ourselves, as humans. And we want, whether it's sales emails or text messages that go out, any communications, we want it to sound like us. And so I have a
Well,
voice
Detailer's Roadmap has a very, because Chris, who's the CEO, we have a very loose, sarcastic, funny brand voice. We actually had this discussion the other day because he shot this video, and at the end he put a little snippet of Snoop Dogg thanking himself. And so there was this discussion amongst the company, like, is that appropriate given this context? Is it not? And we ended up, he ended up saying that this is our brand voice. Like, this is what I want. And so that's an example, if you're listening to this, kind of what that, like, take Detailer's Roadmap and all of the stuff that we put out, and you can see what the brand voice is, because it's not serious. If you look at what Burger King versus Wendy's and their Twitter feeds and how they blast each other constantly on that stuff. So that's kind of more brand voice.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good perspective on that. And so you can have brand voice and also individual voice, because if you're not thinking through brand yet, that's okay. You want to sound like you as yourself. So if I got an email from Kevin that sounded like AI, I might be a little disappointed.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to feel as connected. And we can now, my voice description of my own personal voice is about 2 pages long.
Wow.
Yeah. But if you think about the amount of content that's out there from Taco Bell or from Skittles or any of the others, it's a lot more than 2 pages that they have to go on, from the type of words that they use and phrases that they use. And so you can get a voice description. You can take a handful of emails, put it into ChatGPT or your favorite AI tool, Claude, whatever, and say, please describe this brand voice. And it'll give you a description that will be like, that's a start. It'll give you a description. And you can also ask it for more adjectives to describe it. Something that I like to do is ask what famous people also have voices like this. Because those people have the indexed volume of, and so then AI has more context if you're using famous people's voices. And so for me, I got like Gary V and I got some of these others. I'm like, I don't want that that's not how I want to sound.
You haven't said one F word this entire time, so it definitely can't. We saw him in person like a month, 6 months ago or something, but
okay.
We know it's not Gary V because I don't think I've ever heard you say the F word, but
yeah. So I had a few choices, but so I looked at it aspirationally. I like Michelle Obama. I really love Michelle Obama. And if you ask for things in Michelle Obama's voice, you will have these gigantic long words, run-on sentences, but the heart is there. And so I want the heart of Michelle Obama. I want the short punchiness of Neil Patel.
Mm-hmm.
They are almost opposite in how they write. Neil Patel is really, really short words, simple to understand, the shortest emails you'll ever get. And so I'll ask for a combination of Michelle Obama and Neil Patel, and I'll specify like the emotional heart of Michelle Obama and the short punchiness of Neil Patel.
Because Neil Patel, if you don't know who that is, he's like one of the big internet marketing gurus of all time and business gurus and all that. So he has thousands and thousands of hours of YouTube content out there and other course content and everything. So to your point, there's tons of stuff to index based on that.
Yes. Yeah. So he's got more out than I do. So I've asked it from a base set of my information. We've done it based on Zoom recordings, and say, describe this voice. And one of the people on our team, she said, well, can it tell what sign I am by my voice?
This episode is brought to you by Detailer's Roadmap. Hey, spoiler alert, that's us. We all know you need a kick-ass website in order to be successful with your business. The good news is at Detailer's Roadmap, kick-ass websites, that's kind of what we do. With the latest performance, designs, and SEO strategies, Detailer's Roadmap is your one-stop shop to be successful on the web. And don't forget, we have the best support team in the industry. Whether you're an existing partner looking to improve your lead generation or you need a brand new website, Detailer's Roadmap is here to help you be successful on the web. So go to detailersroadmap.com/success and get started today. That's detailersroadmap.com/SUCCESS.
And so then we asked, we're like, okay, what astrological sign is this voice? And it got 2 out of 3 right.
Nice.
On our
Yeah,
team.
because that's predictive. That's like, the whole my mom was really into astrology. So it's a little bit like magic and magicians, right? Because like not that it's a con, but it can be a little bit of a con. But like it's this whole thing where it looks for similarities and you start to believe what it says. So that's that's great. So it actually is pretty accurate when it comes to personality. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that it did that. So it got that I'm a Sagittarius by my transcript.
Me too. Actually, I think, did they change the dates? Anyway, I'm a Sagittarius as well. But when's your birthday?
November 23rd.
Okay, I'm the 8th of December. So
okay,
anyway.
Yeah.
So we got the sign right.
It got the sign right. So you can iterate again. You can have this voice description, and different AI tools have a place where you can store it. So in ChatGPT, there's a little memory spot for it. Or you might just keep it somewhere you can copy and paste. So after you've written whatever you're going to write, then put in your voice description and rewrite it so that it sounds like you. If you don't have it saved in a particular tool. And I have multiple voices for myself. Almost everybody on the team has multiple voices. We use them in Jasper. We have 44 different voices because we write for customers too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can have the customer voices on there. And I adjust it. So if sometimes I see some of those AI words, I will put in my voice, I'll say, do not use these words ever. And I have a little list at the bottom, and sometimes I add to it. But now my voice is so good that I can have our marketing assistant. We have a more than 20-step SOP that we turned into this AI agent that can write email newsletters in my voice. It can go out and grab articles like the articles that I would grab. It can summarize them the way that I would summarize them, grab the links, have an opener to the email newsletter. We took this SOP and made it instructions for AI. And then it uses my voice and it produces a newsletter. So once a week I go in and I might add a little color to it because it doesn't do a lot of opinion. And I wouldn't be able to in advance specify opinion on those articles because I don't know what they're going to be every week. So that is the only thing that I add typically now is my opinion on certain topics.
Now, can you train it to do that, or is it not advanced enough to say, okay, I'm upper middle class white guy who voted this way, lives in this area, believes these, like, give it the, I guess that not political, but like you could give it a little bit of a demographic. Would that work, or is it advanced enough to be able to then assimilate that information into what you're trying to do?
You could do that. So with some of these though, it's like a new release on a tool. And so the relevancy of that to whether I like it or not, because I've used it, that's really subjective. And I don't know that, like, I don't even know what my opinion would be.
Right. Yeah. You read it gets you a newsletter entry on Canada's weather, and all of a sudden it starts telling, it's like, and I can't wait till Canada's the 51st state. Like, you get something super wacky in there.
Well, or the opinion for it, if I let it do its own thing, it's always pro.
Right.
Whatever we're talking about. And I'm not always pro whatever we're talking about. I might think it's really interesting or something that we're going to keep an eye on, but I don't want it to be like an advertisement for the thing that we're talking about.
Oh, right. I like that.
And the way that my voice is, that's how it turns it into an advertisement for whatever I'm talking about. Like, wait, I didn't say this that I 100% like, because some of the articles that come out and the new features and things, they don't actually work the way they're supposed to. And because we use the tools every day, we know what's working and not working. And so we can be the source of truth. So this is something we talk about in class, is the source of truth. You want to make sure that you have a source of truth for something. So we have a client that's really technical and mechanical, and nobody on our team's technical or mechanical. So we have technical specs inside of Jasper. We keep this knowledge base. That's the tool we use for marketing typically, but we keep technical specs inside of there because that's the source of truth for an article about like a winch on a ship.
Okay. Do you use Jasper for a particular reason for marketing? What's the advantage of Jasper? Why did you choose that tool for that? Because obviously newsletters, we've talked about that. Awesome way to do that. But like for marketing, is there a reason you use it?
Well, so we use it. Yeah, because it holds all the voices. So for us as having a marketing agency too, it holds all the different client voices. It holds all of our different voices and the knowledge base. So with our client that is, it's in the marine industry, and they make capstans and winches for tugboats and work ships and oceanographic research vessels.
That's very specific.
It is. And so we don't know about that stuff, but we can write about it so much better now that we have AI and we have their catalog of all their products, all their specs, the ships that they're used on. That's all in a knowledge base. And we can select the pieces of knowledge for the articles that we write and the content that we write. We just upload it into the knowledge base. So then AI is assisted with all of their knowledge. And the company's 117 years old. They have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, that is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so using Jasper, we're able to have that knowledge base there, and we can have it for each one of our clients, and we can have the voices. So one company was going to acquire another company, and we had to do a press release. And the requirements of this press release, and the press release was just to show the seriousness of them acquiring the other company. So we needed to have a quote from both CEOs and have it be in the voice of our client. We've never met that other CEO. So we pulled information from the internet.
Don't have direct access to them.
We didn't have direct access to the CEO. And so we took the brand voice, we took the new voice from the CEO of the company that they wanted to acquire, and we made a press release. And within 30 minutes, we had a press release that was approved by the general manager, both CEOs, and they said it was ready to go.
Nice.
100% unedited by AI because we know how to use the tools.
Right.
Not because AI is necessarily there that's going to give it to you every time, but we know how to use.
And you've trained the tools. That's what I think people forget, right? Like talk about like you're talking about training, but can you emphasize that?
Yeah, it's really important. So like I said, that voice prompt that you would make, you might have a 1-page, you might just start with a 2-sentence prompt about your voice, that you want it to be professional. You want it to sound like Neil Patel and Michelle Obama. I want it to also sound convincing, or, if you're trying to do sales emails, you might have you can still do a short description, but depending on the platform you're using, there is a place to put that voice, or you'll use it at the end of whatever conversation you're having. ChatGPT kind of learns you now, and Claude too. I really love Claude for its outputs. It sounds more human, but it's not attached to the internet. And so there's certain things that I'll do in different platforms. And we have subscriptions to them all because we want to show people what the different ones are good for. And it's just important to think about the things that you have to do repetitively and how you can describe that. And then you can create a little AI agent that can help you with that repetitive work. So that SOP, or standard operating procedure for writing a newsletter, we can now give that to AI, and a human will run it, but the AI is going to go through all of those steps, and the human's going to verify that it went through all those steps properly. And so instead of now, it used to take probably a good 16 plus hours to do a newsletter. And, like now it's an hour with reading it over and checking all the links and doing all of that. But it's so much shorter than it used to be. And that's why I'm saying, like, this year, like last year, AI wouldn't have followed an SOP like that. But now we can create, so in ChatGPT, it's called a custom GPT. There are other platforms that call it agents, but you can give AI instructions on how to do something that you might want it to do over and over. And actually, something that your audience might want to do is a story brand. I'll give you the link so that you can include it in the description. But I created this prompt that will ask you 7 questions about your business. And the prompt behind this is probably 4 pages long, 6 pages long, something like that. It's a really big one that I did. But it'll ask you 6 questions or 7 questions. It's called the 7-question brand story prompt. And you will get 10 headlines, 10 taglines, 2 150-word elevator pitches, and 2 75-word elevator pitches. These can be used in emails, ads, like blog posts that you might want to do, any of your content, and it should be close to on brand for you.
Which then we talked a lot about on brand and doing content and newsletters and customer nurturing and all that. But like when you're doing videos, everything needs to have a particular, we've been talking about voice. And so that will help you develop, like, what is that supposed to be? So you have consistent voices. I'm working with a brand guy right now to help me with Maxed Out Man, my other brand, because it was a little all over the place. Yeah. And so we're trying to, we're trying to hone that in a little bit. And I'd like to get your opinion on, before we go, on kind of the way I used AI with that. And then I'd love for you to talk about it. That's more 201 stuff, but keep going.
So people like me have created all of these prompts and these custom GPTs that you can use. And I like AI PRM because it's a Chrome plugin that's free. And it has a library of close to 5,000 prompts. And you have to consider they are built by humans like me, so they are not perfect. And it can help get you to a more advanced level of using AI pretty simply. The ones that I've created start with the number 7. So it's the 7-question marketing plan, or the 7-question brand story, or 7-question, there's a soap opera email marketing sequence.
I like that.
And it works on top. It's a Chrome extension. It works on top of ChatGPT, and it works on top of Claude, but it goes into whatever browser you use. And then it's kind of an additional layer on top of the AI tool that you use.
Is that open source or is that subscription, or?
You can use it pretty robustly for free. I pay for it because I want to make more prompts and I have to pay to do that. But you can get a lot of it for free.
Okay.
And I actually won a prompt engineering award last year, the first one ever.
Wow, nice.
For one of those prompts, and it's the 7-question marketing plan. And the data that goes behind one of those prompts it's a lot of information. It's probably a good 10 pages of information at least. It's the format of what I want it to look like every time it spits it out. So if there are some like email marketing gurus that you follow and they have a certain methodology, most likely somebody's created a prompt or a custom GPT that is using that methodology.
Yeah, Hormozy, for example. I'm sure that there's a ton of Hormozy stuff because he's been everywhere. So
I can even tell you right now. Let's see if there's Hormozy. It's searching. Yes, there's a ton.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Alex Hormozy GPTs. So, yeah. So you can use these these proven methodologies and have a nice base that you're starting with. So you don't have to think about the format of your emails. You can just say, like, you can look for a sales email GPT or prompt on AI PRM and just tell it how many you want. I want a series of 10 emails that are going to go out once a week. This is who my customer is. This is what I sell. And I want these to be sales emails, or you could say I want them to be nurture emails or informative, educational, and it will give you that, and you can have it be by a certain person's methodology.
Hey, you know that little thing on your phone when you search and you say business near me? Well, people aren't finding you when they search for ceramic coating near me, detailing near me, tint shop near me, PPF shop near me. They're not finding you as well as they should, or they're not finding you in the areas that you'd like to. Detailer's Roadmap has a solution. I want to introduce our new Google Business and Maps Accelerator. We have got this great new program that not only gives you an opportunity to do some search engine optimization, SEO, but in a very specific way that is designed to be map friendly, Google business friendly, and in order to get you more leads in areas that you're currently in and areas that you also want to target that may be slightly out of your own area. So go to detailersroadmap.com, use that little schedule a demo button at the top, and tell them in that form that you want to do the Google Business and Maps Accelerator program. Take a look at that. It's very cost effective and a very entry level price, and it's awesome. That's all. I mean, I needed you like 3 months ago when I created these, but so we have, for one of my brands, Rugged Restore, we ended up doing, so we have like 2 emails that go out a week, one information slash nurture, and then one sales. But I had my assistant, my executive assistant, use ChatGPT, but this is not like, she would have been so much more powerful had we used these kind of tools. So we're like not getting it right, but we're trying. But some of this kind of stuff, and maybe you haven't even used it, so don't be afraid to like iterate. I love the word iterate, because it is that, it's, you get better the more you use it. And I think people get afraid, but that's like, that would be an example of how to do that better, right? So if I say
Yeah.
I need 52 weeks of 2 emails, so I need 104 emails
Yes.
that can go out. And can you tell it stuff like, don't be repetitive, or stick with these concepts, or whatever? Like, it'll do all of that, correct? And then unfortunately, then you got to go read 104 emails to make sure that it's right.
You do, but at least you didn't have to write them all.
That's true, 100%.
And if you have, so let's say you do this and you have your voice description, and let's say it's just copy and paste in some Word doc somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Then after you have all the emails, you can apply your voice afterwards too, if you don't have a tool that has your voice built in. Because then it will, hopefully, if your voice is robust enough, it's going to take out all of the stuff that sounds like AI, because you still want it to sound like you.
Well, and I'm lucky because I have over 200 episodes of an hour and 15-minute transcripts of me talking, right? Not everybody has that, but so it may require more, and using one of your 7 tools, 7 tools, you could go through and get that voice. So the nice thing is with ChatGPT now, I can go back, because so like, she's got those prompts that are saved on the left side of the screen to be able to go in, okay, do this, and do this. And then we can go in and go in and do it. Now, there still is a manual step, right? Like, I can't use AI to say, all right, now go into Drip, which is my email provider, and create these sequences, right? Are there tools that allow you to do that? Or does it have to be built into the actual platform itself?
You could use something like Zapier or Make to automate most things that you want. And I would not recommend it. I would recommend still reviewing those emails. I don't recommend just going straight from AI out to your customers.
But you could create the sequences and then go review the sequences. So you could save the step of all the copy paste, is what I'm like.
Likely. Most of them have a bulk upload thing too.
Yeah.
So you might want to, if you have that list of 52 emails, you may end up downloading it as a CSV file in a certain format that Drip likes, and upload it that way. Because for our social content, we have a spreadsheet format that our tool likes to use. And so then we put it in that same format.
like Loomly or Sprout or one of those. You
Yeah,
mean like
Content Studio
yeah,
is
Content
what we
Studio.
use.
Okay, so
Yeah.
one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
The one gripe, and maybe this is something I just don't know. Like ChatGPT seems like it's relatively difficult to get the text out of what it just gave me. Like, so if I have to iterate, right? Okay, so here's my macros. Well, do this, do this, do this. Then I basically have to tell it to re-summarize it in order to get
Mm-hmm.
that information, right? So then that's just the manual step you have to do, right? It seems like it's kind of difficult, and maybe I'm just dumb, but copy and pasting some of that information into a usable format.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have the conversations, you'll get better at it. And sometimes if you copy and paste, you still get the asterisks and the hashtags in different places, and you get
Yeah.
some of that weird formatting. So you can, instead of just control C, it's like there's a different command for paste without format.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, it's Control V star, like it's
yeah,
Control Shift V, I think, or something like that.
yeah.
Or Command if you're on Mac. So
And if so, I've got Gemini inside of my Google Docs. And so
Mhm.
then I will just ask Gemini to put it in, like to get rid of all the asterisks and hashtags or
You don't
whatever.
do
Like,
anything all day, do you? You just sit around and talk to your phone.
yeah. Anything that's manual, I'm like, that's how learned how to do spreadsheets with AI and some of these other things. It's the stuff I hate to do. Like, how can I give this to AI? You can give your tasks, like, just think about all the tasks you can give to
Mhm.
AI. And if you don't know, somebody out there is probably trying to do it.
Data handling is so much like, because I'm an Excel guy, and
Oh,
I love AI. Like, I'll use ChatGPT to just do data, like data review, data formatting. I did this thing
yes.
the other day for my business coach where I was literally like, and this is a weird example, but I'm literally making a list of all the things in my life that I love. Right. And so I have this huge list that I had done at night in my phone in a note, and I just dropped, but I wanted it in table format, and I needed it categorized. And so I said, like, Michelle, when she does this, and I gave it a 10, and these different things. So it's a few pages long. And so I just dumped it right in ChatGPT, and I said,
Mm,
create a spreadsheet for me. I need it ranked in the following order, put it in numerical value by category. And then it literally, like, I didn't even have to tell it the categories because it got it right the first time. Marriage, fun, travel, all these kind of things. And so
yeah.
then I can download that, and I send it to my business coach, or my mentor and business coach, and say, hey, here's the list that I came up with. And super, like, that would have taken me forever to copy and paste, because then I have to use that concatenate formula, which
Yeah.
takes in, actually that's the one that combines them. But anyway, so that's like super nerd Excel stuff.
Um,
But like, you don't have to do any of that. It does all of that for you.
and you know what it can even do? If you have ChatGPT on your phone, you can take a picture. Let's say you hand wrote those out. You can take a picture of it and say, hey, put these in a spreadsheet format.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I use the picture, taking pictures of stuff to identify them, or like there were these gigantic screws, and I didn't know what they were for, but they looked like washing machine size.
Mm.
And I took a picture, and with ChatGPT, it was I found out because we were cleaning out our tools in the closet, and there are some random things in there, and they were drywall screws for your washing machine or dryer.
Really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So like,
And
you could probably lay it on top of a ruler or a tape measure or whatever for reference if you needed to, but it probably doesn't even need that. It'll just use the image itself to identify. And Google's been doing Google image upload for a while, so it's probably
yeah,
gotten pretty damn smart at that.
yes. And if you so back to the food thing. Let's say you're in a section and you're looking at all the jars of spaghetti sauce, but you don't want one with sugar and you don't want to read all the labels. You can simply take a picture of the whole shelf and ask which ones are the healthiest or have the least carbs or have no sugar, and it will give you that option. And of course, you want to verify, read the back of the jar, but there's so many things that you can
And
do
that's, I
with,
mean, that's like instant, basically. Like,
yeah.
it probably takes you longer to take the picture than it does for it to do any of that, right? So
Yeah, and you can take the picture usually from like right within the app now. There's a little button, and you can just do that with the picture. You could identify what kind of dog you just saw, if there's some special breed. Like, I don't know. Like, I've used it for so many different things from the visual perspective. I even took a picture of a floor plan, um, because we moved into this condo and I was just curious. But so I had the floor plan on my computer screen. I took a picture of it because my neighbor said, "Oh, I'm going for a dog walk now." So we go walk our dogs together. And by the time I walked to her house, which is right next to mine, like we live in buildings next to each other, and I had the square footage of the area that I used for my office and what the tax deduction would be for that square footage. And based on what I pay, like how much that would be, just from the time I go down the elevator and walk
Nice.
next door,
I love that.
just by taking the picture of the floor plan and asking it to estimate the percentage and, you know,
Yeah, because it actually has tax law and everything, so you could probably dig into that a little bit deeper. And because, like for me, this is I write off my office, which I'm currently sitting in, the hallway. My business owns the extra refrigerator in my garage, so like that square footage, and even my I write that all off because it's technically it's the square footage that would be in a normal, like you can push it a little bit because it's, related to your business. And if you had an office that you had to pay rent for, you'd still need that. Right. So,
Yeah. And another one, so if you have an auto shop or you have product somewhere, you can take a picture of the product and get inventory spreadsheets. If you've got like a cabinet, you have some oil there, you've got some cleaners, you have whatever, and you want to verify the items too, but it's actually pretty good at counting and identifying everything that's there for doing inventory.
wow. I'll have to so I have a shipping girl and does all my inventory and all that. So I'll have to I'm going to get Amy to get on that. Ironically, she's like 20, 21, and she doesn't do technology very well. So we'll have to get her doing that. But that's awesome to be able to do that. I'm assuming like in our industry, there are a lot of procedures. And is it smart enough, and this is like crazy stuff, but is it smart enough one of the things we tell people to do is to take a video of yourself doing a car, for example. Like, is there technology out there yet that can evaluate a video for time and motion or any of that stuff? Is it smart?
100%. Yeah.
Wow.
I would say that would be more enterprise level.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be quite as accessible right now. And it's absolutely out there and available and used in manufacturing. And because there's a lot
I'm
of
sure Amazon has done it consistently to figure out to make sure no one moves,
And Tesla in their manufacturing floor. And then even companies, do you know Waymo?
Yeah, I know the name.
So Waymo's self-driving cars, and they were,
that's the one that got stuck in the roundabout last week. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't see
literally,
that.
this guy was trying to get to the airport, and I don't know why the guy didn't just get up in the front seat and put the brakes on, but the thing literally got stuck in a roundabout and he missed his flight. Like, I think he was just trying to get content once it started doing it, because dude, do something about it and don't miss your flight. But like,
Yeah.
it just kept doing it got stuck in the roundabout and never got out. So
that's funny, because you can call for help. I've ridden in those cars before, and you could get somebody on the phone, like on the car.
Yeah.
And they mostly use JAGs for those too. Anyways, Waymo, in their development, the founder, he uses virtual reality to test out everything before they would actually put it into a car or manufacture it.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's so cool how he does that. He just does all of the testing through VR now.
Well, back in COVID, we had talked about, I wanted somebody to do this, and I'm not smart enough to do it, nor did I have the financial resources, but these huge trade shows that got canceled, right? Because of like SEMA there's 180,000 people that go to SEMA. And I was like, somebody missed an opportunity, because we could have literally set up VR and AR, booths for let people walk in and see our new products, and then have salespeople right there. So if anybody wants to spend the $100 million that it's going to take to get that get that going. Or if someone wants to hire me to do it, I'd be happy to, but I don't have the funds. But like using VR in that kind of process where you're literally demoing something for someone, there's some technological issues with the VR goggles and however that works, but I love using the fact that people are using AR and VR to be able to demonstrate, to solve some of these problems.
Yeah, and to see like on the cars, if they have to build a new piece or something, then they can just test it. They can test it in a simulation as opposed to having to actually manufacture it and test it in reality. They can test it in a simulation first and then test it in reality. And so all the things that we're doing, all the things that we're doing with AI is that on a really simple level. Oh,
it'll be interesting to see whether or not the crash tests and stuff, they'd have to have a lot of faith in the data and the physics math. But it seems like that would be like, stop crashing $200,000 cars in order to see what happens to the cabin. If they could do that in AR. But so, I want to be respectful of your time. I already kept you for a while. If someone is just ready to, so I have ChatGPT 4.0, so I think I pay like $20 a month or whatever that fee is. Not nearly the thousands of dollars of subscription fees that you're currently paying, but
it's
true. but if someone wants, like, it's just a small business, what would you recommend? Okay, this is step 1 through 10 to help you learn AI and how it can make a difference in your business. And, even stuff like whether it's bookkeeping or scheduling. And like I said, some of these things are built into CRM. So if you're not using a CRM, that's my first step.
Yeah.
But like, email and customer nurture stuff, texting and those kind of things. Like what kind of that 1 through 10 or 1 through 5 would you recommend on how to get started with it?
Well, choose a platform to use. There's different ones. We'll just say ChatGPT and pay for a subscription. Don't use the free version. If you use the free version, you are the product. If you pay for it, you own the product and the intellectual property rights and all of that. If you're using it free, they own you.
So they're using the data and can basically,
they can do whatever they want with it if it's free.
Okay.
So I encourage it, and my employees too. I will tell them, like, if we need a subscription for something, let's get it. Let's never do the free version in this case, because we just don't know where they're going to put that information. You can dump their privacy policies into AI and look at it, and it's very vague what they use it for and how they use it.
And don't dump the privacy policy from ChatGPT into itself, because I don't trust that. I would drop it into a different tool that is a competitor to make sure. Not that you can trust
Claude. Use Claude to evaluate ChatGPT. And
there you go.
Vice versa. So that was like, pick one, pay for it, and then just start to use it for every little thing that you don't want to do. And it could even be an emotionally charged text to a spouse or family member or friend, or email, something like that. There are everyday ways to use it. One of my friends, she started using it to communicate with her ex-husband, and, they have kids together, and they would have some heated exchanges before she started using AI for those conversations. And he thought that he commented back like, "You're a new woman."
Literally, because I'm not a woman. I am a computer somewhere in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, so she started using AI for the responses because it took the emotion out. However, whatever the things you don't want to do and that you're avoiding, it could be spreadsheets, it could be inventory, it could be taking your receipts and making an expense report, because you could take pictures of the receipts and then have AI make the spreadsheet for you for an expense report. Like, there are a million different ways that you could use it, but just start using it every day. If you go to AIsmartinsiders.com, you can, if you fill out the contact form, you'll be on our list, and you can come to some of our open sessions for free. Every once in a while, we'll open up our mastermind sessions. And you will get a newsletter. You'll start to learn. We don't put a
newsletter written by AI.
With opinions by yours truly.
There you go.
But what we keep it really simple. So we do a maximum of 5 articles that we would talk about in there, but usually it's around 3 or 4. We only show maybe 3 tools. We keep it short and digestible because it can be really overwhelming with those thousands, tens of thousands of tools out there. We try to keep it as short as possible. And at aismartinsiders.com/resources, you can see all the tools we use. And there's different reasons why we choose them. And we have a little summary by the different tools and how we use them. Because in every category, there are so many different options. And there's other good options we don't have on there, but we just want to keep it simple for people and make it really, really easy to understand. And we have a self-serve class on there. And then we have another cohort that's starting soon. But we always do live classes because having people together to learn with, it's fun and it's very effective. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't even think it's that many steps. It's mostly just sign up for something, start playing with it, and give AI your tasks that you do not want to do. I mean, AI can't, yet polish a car for you. It's not going to clean
And
your
actually,
windows.
they have robots now that are doing
Yes.
that at the factory. I mean, they've been painting
Yeah.
that way in the forever, but they're beginning to do polishing. And it's fairly simple, but it's obviously using AI and mapping
Yeah.
and all that kind
And
of stuff. But
it'd be kind of nice to bring your car into like the robotic detailer, but we're not there yet.
no, and it would put a lot of us out of business for the short term. But this is why you need to be business owners, not detailers, because then you're the ones buying the robots and the software in order to drive thousands of cars through your shop every month, right?
Yes.
Like that's the big
You
thing.
could make so much more money on it. So in construction, they're starting to use the robots a bit more. And one of the big savings is roofers because roofers are usually harder to find. And it's a dangerous job. Like there's a lot of safety incidences that happen with roofers. And you can get a robotic roofer for $30,000 now.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, a lot of roofers are, unfortunately, in the South, they're not necessarily INS approved. Let me just say.
Yes.
So
Yes.
but that's probably what a crew would cost you for a couple of months. That's definitely. And I saw when they do drywall finishing now, which
Yes.
I absolutely hate.
No.
And so like I would pay 30 if I had 30 grand, I'd just buy it so I wouldn't have to pay somebody else to do it, and I could just keep doing it myself. But
Yeah.
it's the amount of things that it can do. I want if you got a few more minutes, I want to ask you this. So
Yeah.
this is kind of the steps in terms of iteration. Has that gotten better? So in 2023 we took and did for one of my brands. I want that, we've been talking about ideal customer avatar forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to develop the ideal customer avatar for multiple brands. And in this case, we'll use the Max Out Man brand because it was more emotionally driven, I think. So the reason I wanted the avatar was so I know how to market to this person, right? So I know the marketing language and all that. So I went through these series of prompts and these steps effectively to help ChatGPT understand who this person is. And then I ended up getting, and in my case, it's a dude, usually between, and we're changing it, usually between, in this case, it was like 40 plus, right? And he had these issues with his marriage and he was an entrepreneur and had this much money and all these things. So we went through all this stuff. And then I actually had it write a nightly diary entry as this guy. I wanted to see what it was saying. It was like, it started out with like another dinner in silence. Sally's the 16-year-old daughter. Sally didn't even bother to come to the table. And it's like all of these like super emotional things. And so after it went through that diary entry, I actually had it then, okay, use some of these emotions to help me develop marketing language to make sure that I'm messaging him appropriately so that I can help him solve his problems, right? Because that's what I'm selling. I'm selling coaching and courses and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Is that, like if you take that back a step for your average small business, is that something that is easier to do now? Or is that something that you need a specific set of prompts in order to do, like, how would that look now? This was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Now I would look at who your ideal customer is, get their LinkedIn profile or something, copy paste, put everything in there, anonymize it, of course,
Yeah.
and have it give you psychographic and demographic information. There are customer profile GPTs and prompts too. Um, and if you do the web search, you could access some of LinkedIn. LinkedIn's not totally indexed by Google.
You could do some
But
of the sales navigator stuff, and there's a couple of tools, like I can't remember what the tools are, but yeah, there's
yeah,
some.
but even if you had 5 people and you put them all, you make that mashup to create your ideal avatar, then you could create your own little custom GPT that is always that avatar.
Okay, yeah, and
And so
then
your
you use that.
instructions would have that robust information about your customer. And then it might have, if you have done those 52 emails and you thought they were great, you could say, here's an example of the kind of outputs that I want. Um, and you can train it with a ton of information, ton of documents or copy and paste too. But yeah, I'd say it will do a better, they've just made so many improvements since well, the year before last now,
Right,
since
yeah.
2023. There's so many improvements and it's so much more nuanced. Chat GPT 4 was supposed to be as smart as Einstein.
Mm.
O1 is much smarter than that. Like the leaps and bounds. I mean, they say it's 10 times, 100 times, whatever, but like 10 times smarter than Einstein. That's what you would be dealing with. And 3.5, if that's what you were using back in the day, that was not Einstein level. That was,
Yeah, I think
high
I'm
school level.
4.0. So there is a 401 now. I think I'm still
There's a
4.0.
there's an O1.
Okay, I need to make sure that I select that when I'm ready.
Yeah, O1, also known as Strawberry, and there's an O1 Mini, which is the fast version of O1. But O1 has like math models built into it. Um,
I have noticed that the analyzing aspect of it is a little, like, it's thinking
it takes
longer
longer. Yeah.
than it did. And I also notice, like, I use it a lot for the podcast. Like, I'll upload the transcript and say, give me takeaways and summary and titles. That I need to work on training it, because the titles are almost the same for every episode that it gives me. Like, there's not enough variety in doing those, and so I end up rewriting them myself. So that's not
Yeah.
necessarily, like, I want it to do a better job of writing new
Well,
titles.
and that's where you could create a custom GPT for that. But for us, we would use Jasper and we'd put the transcripts in as a piece of knowledge, because Jasper's built for marketing and trained on all the marketing things. And so it's going to give you more of those hooks and have it be more marketing language. Um, and it's powered by at least a dozen different LLMs right now, a dozen
Okay.
different models. So in the background, it chooses the right one for the job, but it's got Anthropic, which is Claude, and it has OpenAI, which is Chat GPT. It has a bunch of different models on the back end of it. And so from Chat GPT, you can expect more generic interactions and generic answers. You will need to give it instructions that customize it more to be, if you have those marketing needs. But again, that's why we've been with Jasper. We've been with Jasper since 2020.
So Jasper actually is probably something I need to, and we use it at Detailer's Roadmap, but I personally, for my own personal stuff, I typically use ChatGPT. So I need to transfer.
Okay.
I need to use Jasper more, is what you're saying. So,
Well, I think you would have the kind of outputs that you're expecting.
Okay.
Or that you're wanting if you uploaded some of those transcripts into Jasper. And even give it little instructions, like make sure that it has a hook in the title. And we have a list. I don't know if we did it in the custom GPT, but we've got a list of like 100 hooks.
Okay.
And so you can give AI those 100 hooks, and say, make sure it has a hook.
And I follow title. A guy named Maxwell Finn, I think. I can't remember his last name, but he does an email newsletter with and I'm sure that AI is grabbing all these, but it's like this week's social media. It's a social media trend. It's social trends, I think, is his website. But he sends out social media trends of all the hooks and everything that's working that week. And it's I'm sure it's getting summarized by AI, but like you can then use that and feed that back into your Jasper or ChatGPT, and you can use that for your social media stuff.
Okay, so now I have to look up who is that?
I think his name is Maxwell Finn, but I think it's Social Trends is the name of his business. So if you do Maxwell Social Trends, you'll probably find it. But
Okay.
while you're looking that up, I will say, yeah. So he sends out TikTok trends. Mainly it's TikTok, Instagram, and Reels and those kind of things. But I want to point out something that the other part of that ideal customer avatar as a small business that you can do is, let's say that like some detailers, they're like, hey, I want to do supercars, right? You can actually ask it, this is what I believe my ideal customer avatar is. And you can have it probably tell you what your ideal customer avatar should actually look like given the area that your shop is located in. Because it can tell you, like, would your business, if you're like, hey, I don't have enough revenue. Well, the reason is because your customer base is 10% of what it should be because you're focusing on the wrong customers, right? So I feel like that's a great way to use a tool like that, is to be able to evaluate your customer.
Yeah, and I mean, this from all the businesses that you work with, but that local SEO is so, so important. And if you can do little write-ups and with different neighborhood names in them, it's going to be incredibly powerful and help with your local SEO. The neighborhood names, the location is so important.
Yeah, we have a program called Accelerator, and there'll probably be a little 30-second blurb on this during this episode. But and that's localized SEO is what we help with, to do that, to make it, again, it's something that we can use the tools to help the people so they can do other things in their business.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely, you can improve your own position as well and get double the benefit, or just do it yourself. That's what we say that too.
Yeah, and I don't know if you use Pinterest, but no matter what your business is, Pinterest is an amazing local SEO tool.
That's actually really good to know. I did some Pinterest early on, and then I just kind of got bored with it because I got tired of, I don't know. Because I'm on every other freaking social media platforms. Ask AI, given my business, what are the most effective ways to use my time on social media? Right? Like can probably tell
mean, TikTok is definitely good, but when you want something that's going to last and stick around, you can, and Pinterest. So TikTok is not indexed by Google the same way Pinterest is. Pinterest is indexed by Google in the same way YouTube is. So YouTube's very powerful, but it takes longer to see results. With Pinterest, in 24 to 48 hours of having good SEO'd pins and boards, you can show up. And so in a Google search, you get those videos that are recommended up there. You also get pins. And so you're borrowing from the domain authority of Pinterest when you do that. And the demographics are pretty much 50-50, male, female. So it doesn't matter. And the number one topic is financial questions and stuff. Like, it's not just for doing your nails.
It's not just looking for a couch, put it like, that's what I've used it for. My Pinterest board for redecorating my living room, right? Like
yeah. But for a local SEO, I mean, within a month, we created a new account for a client and we got them sold out in one of their products in a month, and created movement in a whole category just because we were SEOing for that particular one. And so that always comes up in our classes too. I know it's not AI, but when you're making videos and you're making all this content, you might as well put it across these different platforms, because it doesn't take that much longer to have a good SEO, pin either.
And I think some of the aggregators, I think Loomly actually will post directly to Pinterest. They're very limited, so they don't do it well, right? So
and it depends on the channel, because every channel limits or opens. It's kind of like a fire hose, right? You can get a certain amount of information in, certain out. Sometimes it's a straw. Like LinkedIn doesn't share a lot of their data on those third-party platforms, but they let you post and they actually like the posts. It doesn't demote them at all. But with Pinterest, to do all the proper SEOing, you have to go in and SEO the pin. So we do the scheduling, and then we have somebody who goes in and SEOs every single pin, because that's how Pinterest works. They don't allow you to do all those SEO options ahead of time because they just don't have it open. That's where they're restricted. And it's really, really effective.
Well, I'll be talking to Chris, our CEO, about possibly adding Pinterest SEO sometime in the future,
Yeah.
and he'll probably try to kill me if I say that to him, but I'm going to anyway.
Yeah. And Google Business, we know that Google Business is good. And
Google My Business is like, we hammer that, all day long to make sure that these small local businesses are using that effectively. And I feel like I could talk to you for like 3 more hours, but if people want to learn more about what you guys do, can you just give me that and how to find you guys? I know that typically you're probably working with fairly large companies with fairly large budgets. So I don't know whether, but you may be able to, they, like you said, you have courses and DIY stuff that they can glean information from along the way.
Yeah, I would say the best place is aismartinsiders.com, and you'll see all the classes that we offer on there. It's getting a little facelift right now, but you can see the curriculum, and we're upgrading the curriculum for the next cohort too. But it's aismartinsiders.com. And then if you want, you can explore the resources that are on there too, like the different tools that we recommend and what they're for. But yeah, aismartinsiders.com. And then if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get just the notes of what's happening in AI every week, and hopefully you'll feel inspired. We also share a little bit about what we taught in class that week in the newsletters as well. So you can get a summary of that and maybe get some ideas.
That's awesome. I thank you so much for coming on. This is super interesting to me. I hope everybody stayed along the way and can pick up, if anything, inspiration to start saving some time and to be able to grow your business using the tools that are out there. I personally always say please and thank you to AI, because I'm trying to keep myself on the list of humans not to kill if they take. So be nice, like don't cuss at them, because then you get on that other list from like T1 shows up at your house. But like but it's just so cool. I love it. It drives my wife crazy because she's a little bit more old school that way. But like, it's time to embrace this stuff and use it as a tool to help grow your business for sure.
Yeah, save time. When people do our class, the average time savings is 50%.
Wow.
Yes, and we've taught more than 10,000 people.
Well, you're on your way to 1 billion, like you said, changing the lives of 1 billion people, like you said earlier in the episode. I'm excited to see that. Thanks, Nicole. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Head over to detailersroadmap.com and get your one-stop success solution today.